Hello everyone, my name is Michael and I am the Crafty Crocheter, and today I am going to introduce you all to Tunisian Crocheting. Now this is something that I wanted to learn when I first saw this online, and so I took it upon myself to purchase a couple Tunisian crochet hooks, and I made a couple swatches before making this video. Tunisian crocheting combines knitting and crocheting into one and can serve as an alternative to knitting if you prefer using a crochet hook. I remember back when I was learning to knit, I often wished that they made knitting needles with some type of hook on the end to make knitting and purling easier in regards to gathering or pulling the yarn through. After seeing Tunisian crocheting, it seemed as if my wish was granted, albeit decades later. I'm going to show you a couple swatches that I made yesterday for two Tunisian crochet stitches, which I will go over momentarily. Now what makes Tunisian crocheting different from traditional crocheting is that you're gathering all of the stitches onto the hook, which resembles casting on, as you would see with traditional knitting. There are also a few different terms associated with Tunisian crocheting that you don't see with traditional crocheting, and again, I will go over those during the tutorial. So, if you have your Tunisian hook ready, grab some yarn, and let's get started. Alright everyone, so I am going to show you the crochet hooks that I purchased yesterday, and a couple swatches that I created yesterday for the two Tunisian crochet stitches I mentioned earlier, and I will go over those in more detail throughout this tutorial, so stay tuned. So the two I purchased, these two are from Susan Bates, and then I got, this one is a size 9 or an I hook. I don't know how good you can see that on the video, and this is the standard style. This is a standard style Tunisian crochet hook. There's the crochet hook on the end, and then the long knitting needle resemblance. And then I also got a size J or size 10. And then for today's tutorial, I'm going to use the J. So I'm going to put this one aside. And then I'm also going to show you some swatches I worked on yesterday. And again, there are a couple of different ways you can start your row, and I will go over those in a little bit. So the first one I'm going to show you is for the Tunisian simple stitch. And you can tell it's a simple stitch because of the vertical bars in the rows. And this is a fairly simple stitch to get started with. Same with the knit stitch, and I will show you that as well. Again, this is a practice swatch I did yesterday, so you can tell. Now you can also start the row with either just a chain or a row of single crochets, and the advantage of the single crochet start is it's supposed to prevent more of the curling, as you would see without starting with this row of single crochets. And then this one here, this swatch is for the Tunisian crochet knit stitch, and you can see how it kind of resembles traditional stocking stitch as you would with knitting. And this is for the right side, which you can see. And then on the wrong side, you can see it kind of resembles the knitting. If you just did knit stitches for all the rows, this is what you would see on both sides. But this is supposed to resemble both knitting and purling. But again, this is an alternative to knitting if you prefer using the hook. And these two swatches, I did the simple Tunisian crochet. This is without starting the single crochet row. This is just starting with the chain row, and see how it kind of curls up a lot more, so you got to kind of maneuver it around. But again, you can see it's a simple stitch because of the vertical bars. And then also, and then this one is also the simple row, but I started with, down here you can see the row of single crochet stitches here, and it's supposed to be more stable. And I also ended the row with the row of single crochets as well. And again, throughout the tutorial, I will show you how to start and end your little swatch. And again, and here is another example of the knit stitch. Again, see how it kind of resembles the stocking stitch used with knitting. Alright, and I'm going to get started grab some yarn, and in this video I'm using a weight number 6 yarn. I know it doesn't look like it, but on the label it says it's a number 6, but this looks more like a number 5. But again, this is white, so hopefully you can see this on the video. And you're going to start your row as with like you would with any other crochet project. And then you can also, and then let me get started. So you can do a slip knot, or you can do a double knot, however you prefer to start. So I usually do a slip knot, and my method of a slip knot is I take the yarn piece on the right, move it around, and then you got this little, make sure this is overlapping this strand of yarn, and then you're going to take this and go behind it, and I call this the pretzel because you can see it resembles a pretzel. Then you got to take your hook and insert it underneath this strand of yarn, under and from back to front. Then you're going to grab these two strands of yarn, and with my middle finger and thumb you're just going to pull, and there is your slip stitch. And then you can start your chain with any multiples you want. So it doesn't matter how many chains you do, there is no set multiple for this. So in this, I'm just going to do 10. So you're going to start your chain. So if in case you don't remember how to start a chain, you're going to take this yarn over, and then pull through that slip knot, and then there's your first chain. And then again, yarn over, pull through, and there's your chain. And I'm going to do 8 more of these. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So there's your starting chain of 10. I'm just doing 10 for the purposes of this video. And again, you can start this either just by inserting the hook into the chains, or you can do a row of single crochets. And I'm just going to do going into the chains just to make it simple. So this loop on the hook counts as your first stitch. So for your next stitch, you're going to skip the first chain from hook and go into the second. So you're going to take your hook, go through the top, go through this loop here. So you're going to have 2 loops on the hook, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through, and then now you have 2 loops on your hook. And then so this is different from traditional crocheting because you're putting all of these loops on the hook, and then you'll see that it resembles casting on. So for the next stitch, you're just going to go into the next chain and pull through. So now you have 3 loops, and then you're going to repeat this until you get to the end. So I'll go through the whole process. I'll do it. Type yarn over, pull through, yarn, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through. And I forgot to mention, tension is very important in this, because if you make this too tight, then these loops are not going to slide off the hook easily, and then also it makes it kind of difficult to get into all of your loops, and you'll see in a moment. So let me go ahead and finish this row. Pull through, into the next stitch, pull through, into the next stitch, pull through, and then in the last one, pull through. And then it's important that you count these, because you want to make sure that you have the same amount of loops as you do with your chains. So since we chained 10, you want to have 10 loops on your hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's perfect. So then see how this kind of resembles casting on, as you'd see with knitting? That's what I meant by how it resembles casting on. So this is your first row completed. And what I did here, I forgot to mention, what we did here is called a forward pass. When you're putting the loops on the hook, in Tunisian crocheting, that's called the forward pass. And then the next thing I'm going to do is what's called a return pass. And this is a simple procedure. So for the, because you're returning through these loops, that's why it's called a return pass. So to start the return pass, you're going to yarn over and pull through the first loop only. So you're just going to pull through the first loop. And that's the starting of your return pass. And for the rest, you're going to pull through 2 loops until you have 1 loop remaining on your hook. So to start, then pull through the next 2 loops, and then you're going to repeat this through every 2 loops until you have 1 loop remaining. So I will finish this out. Pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and you're going to keep going until you have 1 loop remaining. And there you go. That is, and then you just completed your second row. And then if you pull this apart, these little bars here, I don't know, you see these little bars right here that are kind of slanted right now, but these will work themselves out as you work through the row. These are called vertical bars. And then if you kind of pull through, I should have made it a little looser, but you see how there's the front loop and the back loop in this? So to start your third row, since this counts as your first stitch, you're going to skip this vertical bar. So for this Tunisian simple crochet stitch, you're going to take your hook and just go through under the front loop only, the front vertical bar only. So then you're going to have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and then pull through that loop. Pull that through that loop only. So then again, we will do a repeat. Take your hook, go through the front vertical bar only, yarn over, pull through, then there's 3. And then you're going to repeat this until you get to the end. So again, yarn over, pull through the front loop only, take your hook, go through the vertical bar only, yarn over, pull through, and then you're going to repeat this until the end, and I will work this entire row. Front loop only. Again, hook through the front vertical bar only, and then this one, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I got 2 more. So I'll go through the front loop only here, yarn over, pull through, and then when you get to the last stitch, you do have 2 choices. You can just go through this front loop only, or you can go through this entire stitch in the back, and I'm gonna go through the back, do the 2 stitches, and then this makes it more of a straight edge. Again, we just completed our forward pass, so we're gonna do the return pass again, and it's the same exact procedure as with the second row. Yarn over, pull through the first loop only, and then for the rest, you're gonna keep pulling through every 2 loops until you have 1 loop on your hook. Yarn over, pull through. Again, tension is important here. See how I'm kind of made this a little too tight, but again, tension is important here so you can guide this through easily. Yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, and you're going to repeat this until you get to you have 1 loop on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over through the 2 loops, yarn over through the next 2 loops, yarn over, go through the last 2 loops, and then you have 1 loop remaining on your hook. And you see how that stitch is starting to form, how that pattern is starting to form, as you would see from, so you can compare the two, see how that pattern is starting to form. And you're going to do this as many times as you want until you get to the end. And then when you're done with the row, you can, and you can, when you get done with the row, I'll do this towards the end when I do the knitting too. I'll just do it all in one. So again, to start, you're going to see that front loop. I'm just going to do one more row of the simple stitch. So front loop, yarn over, pull through, another front loop, yarn over, pull through, Let me get some more yarn here. There we go. Again, front loop only, yarn over, pull through, front loop, yarn over, pull through, and you can keep doing this until the end. Front loop only, pull, yarn through, front loop, yarn over, pull through, and then again I'm going to do the last 2 stitches here, and then you just pull through. Yeah, I made it kind of a little tight, but you see how the pattern's starting to form. And then I'm going to do the return pass. Go through the first loop only, yarn over, go through the last 2 loops, yarn over, go through the next 2 loops, yarn over, go through the next 2 loops, and you keep going until you have 1 loop remaining on your hook. Over and then go through the last 2 loops, and you see now you got 1 loop remaining, and then you see how that pattern's forming. It's a nice pattern. But and again, tension is important, so you want to adjust your tension so that way it's not as tight as mine is in this video. So the next stitch I'm going to show you is what's known as the Tunisian knit stitch, and it's basically the same method as with the simple, but it's a slightly different method. So to start, you have 1 loop on your hook, which counts as your first stitch. Then instead of just going through the front loop only, you're going to go through the whole loop. So let me pull this out, and then you should be able to see the 2, easily see the 2, it's like a V right there. That is your loop. Now for the knit stitch, you're going to go just through that loop and not through the front loop only. So I'm going to take my hook, go through that loop, and then pull through. Again, go through the loop, take your hook, go through the loop, pull up, and you're going to continue this until you get to the end. Again, then you got, should have made this a little looser so it's easier to see. But I tend to be a tight crocheter, so it's kind of my downfall. So up here. Then I'm going to go through the last 2 stitches. See, and I just did the forward pass. Then same thing for the return pass. It applies to the knit stitch as you did with the simple stitch. Take yarn over, pull through the first loop only, and then you're just going to do yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, and keep going until you get to the end and you have 1 loop remaining on your hook. There you go. Then again, you have 1 loop on your hook. I'm going to do another row, another forward pass. So again, take your hook, go through the entire loop for the knit stitch, and just pull through. Take your hook, go through the loop. You're just going to keep doing that until you reach the end. Get some more yarn pulled. Go through the whole loop. Take this, go through the whole loop so it sticks out the back. Okay, let's do that. And make sure 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Make sure you still have the same amount of stitches on your hook as you started with. And then I just completed the forward pass again. Now I'm going to do the return pass again, same as before. Take your hook, go through the first loop only. Then for the rest is for the next 2 loops. 2 loops there, pull yarn over, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, and keep going until you have 1 remaining. guess attention is important here, and I should have learned and shouldn't have made it this tight, but there we go. And see how it's starting to curl up on us? Because that's one of the inherent dangers with Tunisian crocheting, is that it tends to curl up. That's why it's advisable to start your base row with a row of single crochets. But I also did that with my swatches, and it still tended to curl up a bit. See, there's the end, and then there's one loop on the hook, and you see how your stocking stitch is starting to form here, and that's what we want. And then this is the right side, so if you turn it to the wrong side, you see up here how it resembles knit stitches, and down here also. This is the back for the the simple crochet, and up here is for your knit stitch, and see how it kind of resembles knit stitches. To say if you were a knitter and you just did knit stitches only, this is what it would look like on both sides. And then to complete the swatch, you can do this one of two ways. You can go through the front loop only, or you can go through the back loop, and I'm going to go through both the entire loop. And you can pull up and just do slip stitches, go through the next loop, 2 loops, and do slip stitches. Yarn, pull through, slip stitch, go through the next loop, pull through, slip stitch, and you're going to keep doing this until you get to the end. Just about done. Oops, I really do that. Yes, I did. Alright, here we go, the last stitch of the row. Alright, so then that's done, and you see that makes some good stitches. And then the swatch, you can see at the bottom, this is your simple Tunisian stitch, and then at the top is your knit stitch. And then you can just basically fasten off like you normally would. There we go. And then this method I learned from Creative Grandma as far as finishing out, fastening off. This is a great technique because it creates a secure knot. So you're going to take your yarn, make sure you have enough yarn over. You're going to pull chain 2 on the very end. Try starting. Okay, then pull the yarn up, and then you're going to pinch this with your thumb and forefinger. Then take this yarn, pull up, pinch again, and then it creates a secure knot so your work doesn't unravel. So, and then again on the swatch, you see the first couple rows that's your Tunisian simple stitch, and then these couple rows up here is your Tunisian knit stitch. Alright, again, hopefully alright, and that concludes the tutorial for the Tunisian simple stitch and your Tunisian knit stitch. Hope everyone enjoyed today's video, and I hope this serves as a starting point for those interested in pursuing Tunisian crocheting and to learn more Tunisian crochet stitches, as I plan to. I may broadcast some more Tunisian crochet videos, so stay tuned. And as a friendly reminder, this is a safe space for all, so please no negative or derogatory comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope everyone's day, afternoon, evening, or night goes well. Take care of yourself and each other.